Council to excuse Mr. Benson.
And can we go back now that Ms. Carson has entered the room?
Yep.
And let's see if we can, let's go back to the, just a moment. Let me see if I can put her in.
Okay.
You know what, I'm just going to, for the system, I'm just going to clear the system.
You want us to all push our button again?
Hold on. Get it off this. Yeah, and
Okay.
just to make sure. I could usually do it, but I just want to make
No problem.
sure. So if everybody, including Ms. Carson, would now press their buttons, and I've made a note for the recorder that Ms. Carson has come in.
Thank you. Let the record show everyone is here this evening except for Mr. Benson, who will not be joining us. He got a late flight out of, where is he? I don't know. He's on the West Coast, Oregon somewhere, but he will be getting in this evening and would like to be excused from tonight's meeting. So if there is a motion, I'll accept that motion at this time.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bullock.
Move to excuse Councilman Benson from tonight's meeting and executive session.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Teeter? Second. I have a motion and a second to excuse Mr. Benson from this evening's meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Now I would like to ask for a motion to allow this council to go into executive session. Mr. Bullock?
Move to go into an executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024E for the purpose of determining position relative to an IGA regarding DIA and an executive session pursuant to 24-6-4024-B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on the issues surrounding municipal inmates at the Adams County Jail.
Thank you. Mr. Teeter?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We will be in executive session and plan to be out here at 6:30 for the start of the regular meeting.
Okay. Let's all sit up here and not go.
I'm good, JD. How are you? Oh, how 6? Oh, how fun. Open, please. Open, please. And pursuant to CRS 24.
good, but he's still playing. Don't tell him I said that.
I'm telling.
I might get a chance tonight.
I'm telling.
That,
Oh, is he going to come for?
ask him.
Set of minutes, I made some changes, so I'm going to copy and go back in and fix. 'Cause I was like,
my job for 35 years.
I claim to work every day.
Well, I worked as a truck driver for Western Paving. It was Western Paving back then.
A guy that used to go,
Okay,
his nickname was Moose.
Moose. Oh, that great big bastard.
Yes.
You
Yes.
mentioned
Leonard.
Leonard.
So-and-so's baby boy.
Yeah, he lost his license there, remember? And then he had to, when he came back, that's when we first got the CDL license, and he flunked it. He was the best drivers there was, but he left his hand on the gear shift while he was driving, and the guy flunked it. He said, "Oh no," he said, "You can't do that." And I said, "Damn, Moose, you want to, Leonard is."
Leonard something, because we always used to go on,
Yeah,
Mrs. Something's baby boy.
yes, yeah,
Leonard, and he had a brother.
yeah, he worked on
Brother was
that.
just as big.
Oh, really? I didn't
Not
know.
quite, well, not quite as big.
Well, Moose messed around with those damn mopeds all the time, always playing on motorcycles and I can't tell you his last name. I did too. I was a shop steward down there for a while.
Oh, I know. I was a bartender. He tapped in.
Oh, really?
He's like one of my
Regulars?
very regulars.
No, he lived out in Lakewood, so he out there all the time. That was right off of Colfax.
Oh, it was right on Colfax and Xavier.
Yeah,
On the
right.
neighbor side, right,
Yeah.
for sure.
I can tell you, as soon as you tell me, I was going to say Merritt, but that was another guy. That's not him. Everybody just called him Bruce. Yeah, yeah. And
That was a great, I used to have a great regular crowd.
good driver. Excellent driver. Like I say, when he lost his license for drinking and driving, and then he was off for a year. They made him stay out for a year. And he came back, and he flunked. He had to take the written test, so he passed that. The company trucks, and he flunked. I said, "You got to be kidding." Because one thing he pulled out to make a right turn. Ours here, and you're here, you got to pull and force him to do whatever he's going to do. You can't. Like Moose said, he said, "Hell," he said, "I drive like you did." He said, "I never get a load of Vicks off during the damn day." So he had to take it again, and he did pass it. But he worked at asphalt paving for quite a while, and then when they went on.
See, Mike?
Was Mets, M-E-I-C, wasn't it? Mets? Oh, he had a nice hand. Did you ever watch him write? Damn, he could write. He wrote just as pretty as.
Everything you can.
Okay, yeah. Oh, he wrote really nice.
I catch next one, I can't remember.
It's just-
1980.
Well, see, we done nothing in the wintertime. Remember, he'd be there all
Oh,
winter
my God, he
long.
lived there.
Yeah, because, we didn't do anything.
There was a crew. There was a really, there was a. Friends, and then, yeah.
I bet I could look back at my book because I had everybody's name.
Well, after the holiday, yeah, my ears
I'd
don't
have
work
to call.
either. Yeah, every day's a holiday, right?
Yeah. It's probably 6, better than 500 pounds. Had to sit in his truck sideways.
Good evening. We were in an executive session. I'm going to call the meeting back to order. We've already done the roll call and those things, so I would like to ask all of you to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We can have the staff go around and allow the audience to introduce themselves.
Pam Spratler.
Betty Thomas.
Danny Thomas.
Judy Dietz.
Susan Sullivan.
Leonard Dietz.
Carol Dietz. Vicki Dietz.
Leonard Dietz. Sam Hoover. Rick Bassett. Greg Clements.
Leanne Clements.
Greg Chavez. Trent Kite.
Amy Hendricks.
Dave Hendricks. Herman Palomino. Ellen Haug. Joy Bishop.
Gene Leffel, Board of Adjustment.
William Turner, Path to One Architecture.
Rosendo Rodriguez.
Rafinha Martinez.
Steve Timms, Planning Division.
Jared Draper, Planning Division.
Roger Finkenberg, Finance.
Lori Wood, Police Department.
Walt Williams, Economic Development.
Hannah Mulling, Congressman Perlmutter's office.
Darren Sterling, Public Works.
Mike Brown, Parks and Recreation.
Chris Kramer, Community Development.
John Howard, Information Technology.
Al Cordova, American Legion, Post 151.
Mary Louise Lopez, housewife.
Anthony Lopez, World War II veteran.
Magdalena Aguayo.
Jose Aguayo, Chairman of Rocky Mountain Chapter, 82nd Airborne Association.
Thank you, and welcome to the meeting this evening. I'm glad you're all here. And it's a pleasure that a lot of the gentlemen and ladies that I served with as an employee of the city are here tonight. One in particular, Mr. Leonard Dietz, who was my boss from 1990 to 1999. And it's my honor that I get to recognize him this evening for being with the city for a long time. I don't want to kill the presentation that Darren Sterling's about to make. Darren, if you'd like to come up. But it is great to see all of you here this evening, and the Dietz family as well. Darren, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. On this day, we'd like to recognize Leonard Dietz with a certificate for his 40 years of service as a Commerce City employee. I'd like to recognize first members of Leonard's family, if they would stand up and be recognized. Thank you for coming tonight. And then I'd also like to recognize the Public Works employees and even some of our former employees that are here to support Leonard and recognize his 40 years. So if you'd please stand. Thank you. I'm going to go over a little bit of Leonard's past history. Leonard graduated from Adams City High School in 1971. He went to Trinidad State Junior College and graduated with an associate's degree in 1973. Started with the city in June of 1973, so we are right here at his 40th. He started as a clerk dispatcher in the police department and later worked as an animal control officer. In 1978, he transferred over to the Public Works Department as a street maintenance worker 2. And then a year later, in 1979, he was promoted to a street maintenance worker 3, and his primary job was to operate a street sweeper, and he learned all the other aspects of street maintenance and traffic maintenance. In 1981, he was again promoted, and this time it was to a street maintenance worker 4. He was basically a working foreman in that position and eventually evolved into the street maintenance supervisor position, which is what he holds today. From 1981 to 1991, he was the only street maintenance supervisor. He helped grow the street division from 5 employees to 24 full-time employees. He's been instrumental in creating and revising most of the division goals and objectives over the years. And Leonard saw the city's infrastructure grow from 240 lane miles to over 770 lane miles. Quite an accomplishment there. Today, Leonard is a street operations supervisor in Public Works. He's a valued employee with a diverse background and historical knowledge of the city. And with that, I have a certificate here for Leonard, if you'd come up. Thank you, Leonard.
Well, thank you.
For all your years of service.
Thank
What I want to say, it's a little difficult here to talk both ways here, but to the council, for the citizens, for my fellow co-workers, that's what made my job easy or easier, with good quality teamwork employees. Some of them are still there today. Sean was there as well, and he was one of our good employees along with a variety of others. We've had some bad ones, but we won't mention those. But in all divisions, Police Department, ComDev, Rec Center, we've all worked together as a team, and it's really made my job that much easier. So I never would have thought I was going to live to be 40 years old, let alone work here 40 years, but I guess the good Lord had a different plan, and so I'm still here, and maybe in 10 years we may be back, but who knows. But with that, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Leonard, stay up here for a second. I'm going to have the council come down in a minute, and we're going to take a picture with you.
Oh, excellent.
But I wanted to say, you know, not only did I get to work with Leonard or for Leonard as my supervisor for 10 years, since he's been a close personal friend of mine. So I'm honored to have him up here. I'm honored to have him as an employee of the city. And I noticed in Darren's little bio that he was giving, regularly you were being promoted from a 2 to a 3 to a 4 to supervisor, and you've went quite a few years. Mm-hmm. And so what I think is maybe you're about due again. That's one for you, Leonard.
Thank you.
Will the council please join me down here to recognize Mr. Dietz?
Front and center. All right. All right, guys, on 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more for good measure. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Standing up there, I actually thought, we should have had all the Public Works guys come up and ladies to take that picture with Leonard as well, because they're the ones who put up with him all these years. And they know exactly what I'm talking about. The one thing, and I have to say a few things about Leonard, the one thing working with him for all those years, and this is good for the residents, he was very good with the money. When a drill would break, he'd want us to go get that $10 drill to replace it. And he was always very frugal with the money. And I know all the guys out there from Public Works know exactly what I'm talking about. But you know what? He has been and always will be a good steward of the residents' money. Sometimes we need a little bit more than the $10 drill, Leonard. But ultimately, you have always watched out for the people of this community, and I respect that. So let's move on. Next item. Does anybody have any comments from council before we move on?
Just congratulations.
Just congratulations. And I guess we'll probably have a party or something here in a while, but we're working on that, right? All right, good. I'd like to invite the representatives of the American Legion, VFW, and 82nd Airborne Divisions forward to receive some awards for the Memorial Day Parade. Let's see here. Crystal and Steve and me, I guess, are going to come down and distribute these awards for your floats that you had in the Memorial Day Parade. So Crystal and Steve, if you'd like to meet me down there. Do you have the awards? Oh, there they are. I was going to say, it's going to be kind of silly if I don't have an award. No, Steve, I get the first prize. So if y'all would like to come up.
Is it on there? Because I can read it if you'd like.
No, it's not.
Okay. The best expression of theme goes to the American Legion, Post 151.
Here, over there.
Up there. American Legion? Yes. Best of theme. Who's here for the American Legion? Yep, American Legion. Congratulations. Congratulations. Best of expression.
That's American Legion. The best. Right.
And now, I have to ask you about your float. Best of expression. Tell me which one it was. Was it the one with the Iwo Jima with the raising of the flag on the rock?
No, that was Normandy.
Okay, Normandy. Now, what was yours? Was it Normandy?
Yeah.
That's the one. Perfect.
So again, that's the best expression of theme, American Legion, Post 151. Our next one is Best of Parade. That's the VFW.
That's this one. VFW. Where's the VFW? Not here? Not here. I'll make sure they get this.
And then we have Most Creative from the 82nd Airborne Division.
Which float was yours?
Ours was the one that was in Washington with the World War II, everything.
With the parachutes? It was awesome. Loved it. Bravo. Did a great job. Congratulations, Steve. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll hold the mic shoulder.
Yeah. Come to the middle, guys.
We got to stick in on them. There you go. The rest of you got room there?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's sit down.
Brian.
You said that, I started.
There, would you do me a favor, hold this trophy so I don't look silly up there? Thank you.
You just want to take a few steps over. Can you just scoot over a little bit, sir? Yes. All right. We know the drill. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. We're good.
Let me shake hands with fellow 87. Okay, next, GFOA Award, and I'd like to call the Finance Department forward to present that.
Mayor, you'll be presenting that to them.
Yeah, I've got it here. I'm ready.
Okay.
Let Roger get up here. This is a nice award. Roger? Let me read what this says real quick, okay? Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting presented to the City of Commerce City, Colorado for its comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ended December 31, 2011. A Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting is presented by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada to government units and public employee retirement systems whose comprehensive annual financial reports achieve the highest standards in government accounting and financial reporting. That's a pretty good award, Mr. Finance Director, and I'm proud to be handing it to you. I think it says a lot about the fact that you as well are frugal with the residents' money, and you do the best with our revenues that you can so that we can provide services. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We have good employees there.
You have anything you want to say before we come down? Great. Come on down, Council.
Okay. All right, guys. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Brian did ask me to tell the audience that this is the 25th consecutive year we've received this.
And I know Roger hasn't been here that long, so I can assure you we have good financial staff throughout the department.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice evening, and thank you for all being here. And you know what? Having Greg Clements come back, he might want to just stick around for a little while. He's probably missed this environment. Huh, Greg? You missed this? Good to see you. We'll let everybody go ahead and leave the room before we get started again. Next item on the agenda is citizen communication. I want to remind everybody of the 3-minute rule. And we have one person on here today, Gil Garcia. Please come forward. I need you to state your name and address for the record. And tell us what you'd like to tell us. Oh, turn the microphone on there, please. There we go.
Yes, I am. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm Gil Garcia. I live at 220 Johnson Street in Frederick. I'm here representing Denver CERT. Now, CERT stands for a Community Emergency Response Team, and I'm here to let the council know that we are going to be putting on some training. I'm a CERT trainer. I train people that want to come in. Now, what CERT does, Community Emergency Response Team, what we do is we're usually the first ones on site before even the first responders. Is usually your next door neighbor. Your house has been demolished by a tornado, whatever, and your neighbors are going to come and make sure you're okay. And so we give training for that to show what is the proper way, what is the safe way, if you should even enter a building, and if it is safe to do so, how to do a sweep, how to put the information on the door so that when the first responders do show up, they will know exactly where to go or where not to go, so it saves time and possibly human life. So, and I'm here to say that the classes are from 8 a.m. to 5:30 on Tuesday, June 18th, and again from 8 to 5 on June 19th. And what we will do is we'll have an exercise for those who have taken that class. And what's might be of interest to Commerce City is that this year's training will be at Dick's Sporting Goods, where we will have some folks who pretend, who are role players, who will put on the Lamage, the broken arms, those sorts of things. So it might be of interest for everyone. I've got the information on these that I will leave in the back for anybody who may want to do that. It's important. It's of interest to me as well, since I graduated from Adams City with Mr. Teeter and Leonard's cousin, I believe, Marvel. So anyway, I will leave these for the people that want to get further information. There's a website at the bottom where they can obtain even more information. So hopefully we can start some communities in Adams County. I'm not sure. There are none in Weld County, so I'll probably want to try and form some teams there. But it's really good. We operate on the incident command system, so as soon as somebody with more authority, somebody with more knowledge shows up, we gladly relinquish that and ask what we can do. So it's really a good program. Again, this is with Denver CERT, because I don't know if there's one here. There's certainly not one in Weld County where I'm currently living. So anyway, that was my presentation. I can leave these in the back.
Can
Any
you
questions?
do me a favor and leave 9 of those with the city attorney for distribution to the council?
Oh, I certainly will, and then I'll leave the rest at the back for those citizens who may want to take a look.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Let me see if there are
Any
any
questions?
questions or comments from the council. Mr. Teeter, your light's lit.
Yes, well, thank you for coming forward tonight, Gil. Good seeing you again.
Well, nice seeing you, Rick. Say hello to Patty for me, and I'll say the same to Cheryl.
I was going to tell everybody here that you are an Adams City graduate from 1966. Probably the best class to ever come out of Adams City High School, as we will know.
Well, yeah, I would have to agree with that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Next, I need to ask the council to amend the agenda to remove Resolution 2011-34 to be heard next. Mr. McEldowney.
So moved.
Mr. Teeter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to move Resolution 2011-34 to the top of the agenda to be heard next.
It's actually 2013.
It says 2011-34, but I trust you, and since we are in the year 2013, probably makes more sense, Mr. Attorney. I'm just going off of the information that I have before me. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. Now we will hear Resolution 2013-34. I'll open the public hearing. Ask the city attorney to present the evidence for the annexation.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this matter comes before you with regard to an annexation petition that has been filed with the city, and the city is prepared to present evidence in support of its position with regard to that petition. And at this time, I would call the first witness and only witness that the city has in regard to this matter. So if you'd please raise your right hand and be sworn. You swear the evidence you're about to give and the cause now in hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Would you please state for the record your name and business address?
My name is Jared Draper. I'm one of the city planners here. Business address 7887 East 60th Avenue, Commerce City, Colorado 80022.
Are you familiar with the petition for annexation that has been filed in this case?
Yes, sir.
Is it true that that petition relates to property located at 6771 East 80th Avenue in the city of Commerce City?
Yes, sir.
After your review of the petition, can you tell the council whether or not a plan for this area has been adopted by the city council as required by the state statute?
Yes, it has.
Would you also tell the city council whether or not the site in question meets the requirement of statute in that not less than 1/6 of the perimeter of the area proposed to be annexed is contiguous with the existing boundaries of the city?
Yes, sir, it is.
Is the area proposed to be annexed have a community of interest?
Yes, sir.
And is it capable of being integrated with the city of Commerce City?
Yes, sir.
Was the petition signed by 100% of the owners of this property?
Yes, sir.
And as such, is the entire parcel being annexed, or has it been divided where only a part of the parcel is being annexed?
The entire parcel is being annexed.
Have any annexation proceedings been commenced for annexation of this territory by any other jurisdiction or municipality?
No, sir.
Will the proposed annexation result in the detachment of the area from any school district and then attachment to another school district?
No, sir.
Would you tell the council whether or not the requirements of the state statute for annexation have been met by this petition?
Yes, sir, they've been met.
Will the proposed annexation have the effect of extending the existing municipal boundary more than 3 miles in any direction?
No, sir.
Has the entire width of any street or alley been included in this annexation?
Yes, sir.
In your opinion, is the subject property eligible for annexation into the city of Commerce City?
Yes, sir.
Is an election required? Is an election required for this annexation?
No, sir.
Are you aware of any additional terms or conditions that this city council should impose with regard to this proposed annexation?
No, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I don't have any other questions of this witness.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who has any input on this annexation? Seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And I'll ask if the council has any questions. Mr. McEldowney. Okay, Mr. Douglas.
Yes. What's the benefit for Commerce City for this annexation?
Could you repeat the question, please?
What's the benefit to the city for this property?
The annexation property has actually come to planning staff's attention via the property to the west, the adjacent property, the church. the pastor of the church is the owner of the property in hopes of expansion, is hoping to utilize the property he owns, which is the subject property of this annexation. So it would offer the opportunity for expansion of the church.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no one else, I am open for a motion. Mr. McEldowney?
Thank you. I would move to approve Resolution 2013-34.
Thank you. Mr. Teeter?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify.
Title, Mr. Mayor?
Title, please.
Title reads, Resolution making findings of fact by the City Council of the City of Commerce City and its conclusion relative to eligibility of annexation to the City of Commerce City of property located at 6771 East 80th Avenue, Commerce City, Colorado, in AN 230-13.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Next item on the agenda. Another public hearing, AN-230-13 and Z-905-13. I'm now opening the public hearing, and I'll ask the staff to make their presentation.
I might comment prior to staff proceeding that both the annexation and the zoning of the subject property are all included in this public hearing, so the issues involving both annexation and annexation zoning will be considered as part of this public hearing.
Okay. We'll have to act on those independently, correct?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As I said, my name is Jared Draper. I'm one of the city planners here with the city, and I will be presenting cases AN 230-13 and Z 905-13. The location, the subject property is 6771 East 80th Avenue. The applicant is Jim Joes. The property owner is Aiden Martinez of Iglesia Apostolica. And the request before you tonight is the annexation and the annexation zoning of the subject property from Adams County designation to C3 within the city. Just a quick review. The annexation cases before you tonight will be reviewed and voted on by City Council only, and the zoning of the newly annexed land has been reviewed by Planning Commission and by City Council. At the end of the presentation, there will be two recommendations, one for the annexation by staff and one being forwarded from the Planning Commission for the zoning of the newly annexed land. The site surroundings, currently the site is zoned Adams County C3 within the county, and our comprehensive plan calls it out to be industrial distribution. This property is bordered to the north by industrial and to the east and the south by other Adams County land. The property to the east is also industrial land within the county, and to the south it's a mix of residential and commercial. As mentioned previously, the property to the west is zoned C1 within the city. It is the property of Iglesia Apostolica, which the property owner, Aiden Martinez, is the pastor of that church. This case did come before city staff due to the desire to expand the church. In that expansion, they would be losing some of the designated parking for their members. And since the pastor currently owned the property just to the east, the subject property tonight, it was the solution between the applicant and staff to annex the property into the city to create a shared parking agreement between the two, and with also the potential for future expansion of the church onto that property if the existing businesses, their lease ran out or another tenant wasn't found, if the church wanted to expand onto that property as well. You can see the site photo with the church on the left and Hard Times Bar, which is the structure that's closest to the street on the right. The existing uses that I just mentioned, one is a tavern. It's Hard Times Hard Times Bar. It is to the more south of the property, and to the back of the property, more north, is a automobile repair facility that does minor repairs. Both of these uses, the current uses of the property, are allowed within the C3 zone district that the city has. They're allowed uses by right. It's also important to note that the tavern is outside of that 2,500 feet distance of any other tavern within the city. So if tonight the property were annexed in Zone C3, there would be no additional processes, no conditional use permit that would be needed. This tavern doesn't have it's not a cabaret, so there's not amplified music or the kind of a music venue at the existing site. So no additional processes would be needed. This is just taking a look at the tavern buffer map, showing that there would not be a need for that conditional use permit since it would be inside the 2,500 square feet or 2,500 feet. It is. The city clerk's office has checked with Adams County, the liquor authority, and at the time that the Hard Times Bar were to renew their license, that would be a simple process of renewing with the city rather than the county. There would not be additional process at that time either. Based upon the annexation criteria in the Land Development Code, the subject property was reviewed by staff and the development review team. It was seen that it was in compliance with the state laws and the Land Development Code, that it's within the best interest of the city. It would be served due to the potential for expansion of the church, which is already within the city, that it's already within the municipal service area. It's capable of being integrated into the city in compliance with applicable regulations. Adequate services and facilities already exist, and the configuration will not limit the city's ability to annex surrounding land in the future. The criteria for the zoning of newly annexed land is that the subject property must meet one of three criteria. This property actually meets two of those criteria, one being that it's being zoned to the most comparable to the county zoning classification existing of the subject property. That is going from Adams County C3 zone district to the City of Commerce City C3 zone district. That would be the most comparable. And the second criteria would be that it's the most comparable zoning to the present uses of the property. As mentioned earlier, the current uses of the property, both are allowed uses in the C3 zone district, and so there would not be additional processes needed due to the being outside of the 2,500 feet. In the Planning Commission analysis, it was seen that the subject property being reviewed only against the criteria for zoning meets the criteria for the zoning of newly annexed land. No dedication or public improvement is required at the time of annexation. The number of public safety calls for service was not in excess for the current use of the property. And that number was actually 72 over the last 3 years, most of which were for disturbance or minor traffic violations. The current uses will continue on the subject property, and the annexation of land will allow for the current use of the property along with the potential use and future expansion of the adjacent church. At the time of Planning Commission, the site had been posted. Their staff had received 0 responses to public notice, phone calls, emails, or anyone coming into our office to discuss the case. As mentioned, the cases were reviewed against the criteria in the Land Development Code. Staff is recommending for the annexation approval of that annexation request. And the Planning Commission, staff would like to forward the Planning Commission's favorable recommendation of the zoning of newly annexed land from the Adams County designation of C3 to the City of Commerce City C3. That vote was 5-0 from Planning Commission. And with that, staff will take any questions of council.
Thank you. Before I go to the council, I'm going to ask if the applicant is present. The applicant, is the applicant here?
A representative of the applicant, this is Bill Turner. He's with Path 21 Architecture.
Great. Do you have a presentation you'd like to make at this time? Okay, thank you. Is there any? Great, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to give testimony to this case this evening? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. And now I will ask the council if they have any questions concerning the zoning or the annexation. Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to introduce the annexation ordinance and approve on first reading. Council? Mr. McEldowney.
Would move to, I believe we need to begin with findings of fact of the planning committee. Are we, sorry?
The annexation comes first, so the ordinance.
Move to approve the annexation request.
Okay, Mr. Teeter?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve AN-230-13 on first reading. Mr. Attorney, read the title.
Title reads, an ordinance approving and accomplishing the annexation of contiguous unincorporated territory described in Exhibit A, attached hereto, made a part hereof, located at 6771 East 80th Avenue, Commerce City, Colorado.
Thank you. I'll ask for a roll call vote now.
Mr. Doug, oh, there we go.
You got them all? Let the record show that the ordinance is introduced on first reading unanimously by the council. Next, I'll ask for a motion to approve the findings and recommendations of the Planning Commission on the zoning application. Mr. Bullock.
Move to approve the findings of the Planning Commission on the zoning application.
Thank you. Mr. McEldowney. Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve Z-905-13. Mr. Attorney?
Actually, just a quick clarification, the motion is to accept the findings.
Right, findings and recommendations of the Planning Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Now we'll go to introduce the zoning ordinance and approve it on first reading if that's the desire of the council. Mr. McEldowney?
Would move to approve, or introduce rather, ordinance Z898-12 on first reading. Council is seated.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock?
Second that.
I have a motion and a second.
Just
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Mayor, actually, it's Z905-13.
I apologize, I'm reading the next one down the list. Z905-13, revise my motion.
And that's what I second.
All right. So I have a motion and a second to approve Z905-13. Mr. Attorney?
Title reads, an ordinance rezoning from Adams County C3 to Commerce City C3 Zone District, the property described in Exhibit A, attached hereto, made a part hereof, located at 6771 East 80th Avenue, Commerce City, Colorado, and amending the zoning map of the City of Commerce City, Colorado to reflect said rezoning.
Thank you. I'll ask for a roll call vote at this time. Let the record show that the ordinance has been introduced unanimously by the council this evening. Next item, Z-898-12. I'm asking for a motion to continue the public hearing to September 16th, 2003. What are the council's desires? Mr. McEldowney?
So moved.
Mr. Bullock?
Second.
A motion and second to continue Z-898-12 till September 16th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Yes, sir. Mr. Bullock had just asked me, and I think it's appropriate to have the whole council know, why do we continue to push this out? Mr. City Manager?
The applicant on this property is represented by David Foster, and the property owner and his attorney have been working together with other landowners in the area to bring together a joint plan for the development of multiple properties and the installation of public infrastructure in the area. So to give them time to continue to work on those partnerships, they've asked us to continue it until the fall.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Now we'll go into ordinances on first reading. We have ordinance 1956. Does the council have any questions regarding this ordinance?
Did we ever do the resolution?
We've done them all, Mr. Bullock.
Yes, it was moved, sir.
We moved it?
We moved
I
it.
don't remember voting on it.
That was the first item. All right, back to ordinances on first reading, 1956. Council have any questions regarding this ordinance? Mr. McEldowney? No. Seeing no one, is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council regarding this ordinance? Seeing no one, ask for a motion to introduce. Mr. McEldowney?
I would like to introduce ordinance 1956 on first reading. Council is seated.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock?
Second.
A motion and a second to introduce ordinance 1956 on first reading. Title, please.
Title reads, an ordinance amending Table 5.1 of the Land Development Code to allow limited equipment rental as a use by permit in C3 zone districts.
Okay. I'll ask for a roll call vote. Let the record show that the ordinance has been introduced unanimously by this council this evening. On to ordinance 1959. Does the council have any questions regarding this ordinance? Mr. Bullock?
I want to introduce it.
Ms. Carson? Sam? All right, Mr. Bullock, go ahead.
Move to introduce ordinance 1959 on first reading.
Okay. Councilwoman Carson?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council regarding this ordinance? Seeing no one, Mr. Attorney, please read the title.
Title reads, an ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 4 of the Commerce City Revised Municipal Code regarding interference with animal control agents, right to a hearing for suspected vicious or dangerous animals, and prohibited and regulated animals.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Just a moment. Okay, should be able to, one moment. One moment. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Let the record show that ordinance 1959 has been introduced unanimously this evening by this council. On to ordinance 1963. Does council have any questions concerning this ordinance? Seeing no one, is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on this ordinance? Seeing no one, I'll ask for a motion. Councilwoman Carson?
Motion to introduce ordinance 1963 on first reading. Council is seated.
Mr. Bullock?
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Attorney, please read the title.
Title reads, an ordinance renumbering certain wards established in ordinance 1955.
Thank you. Ask for a roll call vote. Let the record show that ordinance 1963 has been introduced unanimously by this council this evening. On to administrative council business. Mr. City Manager, you want to discuss the upcoming trip for my delegation to Japan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. And then two additional items of administrative council business after that, if I might. But first, regarding the mayor's trip to Japan, we're busy making arrangements to facilitate his attendance on the trade mission to Japan that leaves June 10th. It's been recommended to us that for overseas travel that the mayor have a credit card for incidental expenses. We initiated the process to have a card issued to the mayor, a city purchase card issued to the mayor. However, council policy requires that city council approve the issuance of that card to the mayor. Since this is the last regular meeting before the trip, and before we physically issue the card to the mayor, we wanted to bring it to council's attention and see if council would be willing to take such an action.
Mr. Bullock, your light's on?
Yes. Move to approve of council, the mayor having a card on this trip to overseas trade mission.
Mr. Teeter?
Second.
A motion and a second, and I'd just like to let everybody know, today, myself and Lisa Gallegos from Administrative Secretary for the City Manager were at the delegation briefing. The contingency that I will be going out with is not a large contingency, but I believe every college in the state has a representative that will be attending, as well as myself, the mayor of Littleton, and Mayor Hancock and his team. And one of the big events that I will be there for is the East Meets West Global Energy Summit. And they're going to talk about new ways to develop energy that's less harmful to the earth. So I'm excited about that. I want to be able to bring back some information on that. But my primary goal is to be able to look at these two major airports and see how these airport cities affect the areas around them, and what DIA could look like if we work to a positive outcome in the discussions with the Airport Coordinating Committee in Denver. So with that said, one of the things that came out of this meeting was that you're going to be overseas. It's tough to be able to determine a per diem, and so therefore with my meals and those things, I will keep track diligently, bring back the receipts for any purchases that are made with the city credit card so that the council can go through those, and I can assure them that it'll be properly used. So with that said, all those, we already did the vote, right? So we're good to go. I just wanted to explain to the council.
No, we didn't do the vote yet. We just did the second.
Okay, and they recommend, and this one it kind of shocked me, they said you need to make sure you take 10,000 yen in cash.
That's $22.
No, it's $100. So I will be taking 10,000 yen. It sounds like a lot, but it's not much. All those in favor of me having the credit card for the week while I'm out of town, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. City Manager, you have a couple more?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The second item would be an action by council to set the starting time for the June 17th meeting to 5:30 to allow an executive session for continuing discussions regarding the DIA-IGA issue.
Is there a motion? Mr. Amador? You've been quiet today. Do you have a motion? Turn that microphone on so everybody at home can hear you. There you go.
Sorry about that. I've got my request button blinking, throwing me off here. I would like to make a motion.
Start time, 5:30.
Start time, 5:30 on the 17th.
Perfect, thank you. Mr. Teeter?
Second.
A motion and a second to move the start time of the June 17th meeting from 6:30 up to 5:30 for purposes of an executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. One last item I was contacted late last week from representatives from CDOT. You may recall that over the last year or so, there is an advocacy group on the west side of Denver that is urging a reopening of the I-70 alignment issue. City Council sent a letter in March of 2012 reaffirming our position on the matter. The Adams County Board of Commissioners sent a similar letter in September of last year. The Northern Area Transportation Alliance, NATA, also sent a letter last fall reaffirming Adams County's position on the alignment of I-70. However, there's growing concern that group is gaining advocates, other elected officials elsewhere in the Denver region. As a result, Don Hunt, the executive director of CDOT, will be meeting with the Denver Post at the end of this week to confirm and reaffirm CDOT's position and the decision that it's made on the alignment of I-70. Staff believes it would be advantageous for us to send a new letter, updated letter to Don Hunt. I've also reached out to staff at Adams County to see if Adams County would be willing to co-sign a letter with us. And I've actually been in discussions with Mayor Hancock's office about all three, Commerce City, Adams County, and the City and County of Denver Mayor's office, issuing a joint letter affirming our position on the alignment of I-70, throwing our support behind the extensive process that went into the selection of that alignment as a way of making our position clearly known to the Denver community about that alignment for I-70. The challenge is we don't have a draft letter tonight. Our request would be the council would authorize a letter to that effect that would reaffirm our position, show our respect and support for the original decision that CDOT made based on the 2-year-long I-70 PACT process. And if council were so willing to authorize the mayor to sign that letter when we have it drafted later this week in time for Don Hunt's meeting with the Denver Post.
Mr. McEldowney.
I have full faith in staff's ability to channel the comments that we've given over the years of this discussion and reiterate our position on the need to maintain the alignment, not follow with any variation of the rerouted I-70. And I think it would be important to reiterate in that letter that any party outside of the jurisdictions directly impacted by any proposed alignment really have a negligible position and other than a sort of ancillary comment at best in terms of influencing that directive. So that would be my motion that council support staff author such a letter on our behalf.
Thank you. I have a motion.
Second.
Now I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried, so you have some direction. Do you have any further administrative council business there, Mr. City Manager?
No, that is it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And does the council have any administrative council business? Looks like a whole bunch. We'll go with Mr. Teeter.
Yes, I would like to have staff look at, see what they can do with, see what it's going to take to complete the sidewalks on Quebec Street from 56 south to the truck stop. I've noticed that the Denver side is complete. Commerce City's side is totally complete except from 56 all the way to the truck stop. So I think we need a sidewalk put in there.
Can you please look into that and give Mr. Teeter an update? Thank you. Mr. Amador.
Yes, I was approached. I'd like to address the council and the city manager and attorney as well. I was approached by Adams County Commissioner Eva Henry to participate in a conference and the national dialogue about strengthening the challenges of the American middle class in the suburbs through Building One America conference. And it's the second national conference on the issue of suburbs. And the summit brings together mayors, local elected leaders municipal, state, county, and school officials with experts and federal policy makers for the White House and Congress, seeking bipartisan solutions to the unique but common challenges around housing, schools, infrastructure, and it's for the metropolitan areas. So I did hand out prior to the meeting Building One America brochure about the conference, and Lisa was kind enough to also put together an estimate of probable cost, which I'll pass out real quick. But I did want to kind of bring that to council's attention and ask to be able to allocate funds to attend the conference.
Gary, what are the council's desires on allowing Mr. Amador to use his, what do they call that fund?
I think this should be paid for by the city. I think this is a travel that could be city authorized.
Okay, well, I'm going to let you speak. Mr. Bullock, I'm going to turn your microphone on.
I was, after reading the brochure and knowing that going with Eva Henry, the commissioner, I was thinking that this could be, instead of discretionary funds, this could be okay, it is legislative budget, so never mind. Never mind.
Never mind, it's already in the legislative budget.
Okay.
He doesn't have to use his discretionary money. Let's see who else has something to say. Councilwoman Carson?
I had recently received...
No, we're still on this.
Oh.
You have something on Mr. Amador?
No, I do not.
How about Mr. McEldowney?
Having attended one of the regional forums that our
Commissioner
Henry hosted this last fall, was an incredibly constructive dialogue, and I think the subjects that are on the docket for this are incredibly important. It would be great to have a Commerce City representative at the table, particularly given our discussions on the very facets of discussion: schools, transportation, water infrastructure, housing, and sustainable communities. These are all critical things that we see and have talked about at length here in Commerce City. I would absolutely, I would move that council authorize the requested expenditure for Councilman Amador to represent us at this conference.
Okay, I have a motion. Mr. Teeter? Do you have
I'd like to
something
second that.
You second that, okay. Motion and a second to allow Mr. Amador to go on the conference, Building One America. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Make sure you bring back plenty of information for the council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
I do have one more administrative council business concerning the intersection at 60th and Highway 6 right there in front of Walmart. All too often I see the camera lights that are taking people's pictures for running red lights, but I also see numerous accidents at that intersection just about on a weekly basis. And as a safety concern of mine, and that's, I'd like to see what it would take maybe for staff to introduce those little backward kind of counters that show you how long you have counting backwards till the light turns yellow. It's just somewhat of a cautionary thing for the drivers so that they don't have to slam brakes right in front of each other because the light turns yellow and the big diesel behind them hits them, or the truck carrying a tractor behind them also hits them. I have looked at that intersection a few times, and it's some kind of study that would give the drivers some notice from having to incur an expensive traffic ticket, to say the least, when they would know the light would be turning yellow. So, thank you.
Would you please look into that and bring back some information? Mr. McEldowney, you have something on that note?
Just to coattail Mr. Amador's comments, it's been a while since we've had a report on the camera activity at that intersection. I know that we had one, it seems like probably a year ago, or coming up on a year, in terms of citations. We even got to see some footage of some of the incidents or the near incidents in that intersection. I think it would be important to get an update and perhaps have that come back with the added commentary from the PD on the observations from Mr. Amador.
We'd be happy to do both.
Great, thank you. Okay, Mr. Bullock.
Go to Ms. Carson first, because she
Okay.
was about to speak.
I know, and you're just going to get me out of sync
Okay.
with my names, but that's okay. Councilwoman Carson? No, let's go ahead.
Well, I was wondering if we could bring an item up for study session. I recently had received an email from a business in our city, and I wasn't aware that we had a ban on ice cream vendors in the city, but after forwarding that to Mr. McBroom and him getting research from Mr. Gaylor, I guess we do have a ban on that.
Yes.
Can that be an item? Would you object if that came in front of study session here at some time soon?
Just for a little background, Councilwoman Carson, I love ice cream. I mean, just take a look at me. You can tell. I eat those things that you shouldn't eat. And I'm okay with that, growing up as a kid, having the ice cream truck. The one thing is that's tied to all the other vendors. And you have these little carts that are imposing upon the sales of the folks that have the concessionaire license for Pioneer Park. They're up and down the streets in the neighborhood constantly dinging the bell, selling all different kinds of things. And at one point in time, we had folks in Derby that were laying out blankets and selling bobblehead dolls and things of that nature. The horchata stands on the side of the road where they were mixing the stuff with their hands. And it has been a constant issue, because at one point in time, we had a vendor that wanted to put in hot dog vendor like Home Depot has at Ace Hardware. And the problem was, unless they're inside, they can't do that. And if we open up that can of worms, we have to deal with all the other things at the same time. Not that it can't be done. And if it's something you'd like to see, I just wanted to give you some background of why it's not just one type of vendor. It covers, that ordinance covers them all. And Mr. Gaylor may be able to expand on that. Mr. Gaylor? Am I correct in saying that they're all tied together?
It does open up that whole issue. I would think that if the council were so inclined, an ordinance could be drafted narrowly to include vehicle-type vendors, if that were where you were going with the ice cream vendor, because they're selling from a vehicle, as I understand it. But that's all for council's discussion, but I think we could draft an ordinance that would be narrowly created to address that specific issue. Bear in mind, the way that ordinance originated was way back when there was a fatality that resulted from a child running in the street after an ice cream vehicle, but that was a lot of years ago. Some of you may remember it.
I do.
But that's where the ordinance originated.
So
That's for study session discussion, perhaps.
So just for you, the only reason I bring that up is to let you know that there's a lot more involved instead of just talking about ice cream trucks. But if it's something this council would like to see, I don't have a problem seeing it in a study session. I think it would probably be a timely discussion.
I would think it would be interesting if the date is correct. Mr. Gaylor says it was in 1970 when the ordinance was passed. That's over 40 years ago. It doesn't state that the ordinance was passed referring to all the issues that you're talking about, but that it was more as a reaction to the accident that happened.
It was.
The email that I received from the gentleman states that his business operates and the headquarters are in Commerce City, but he's not allowed to do his business in Commerce City. So just out of respect to certain things, I think it would benefit us if we took a look at this. And I know that in the 11 years that I have lived in River Run, I have seen ice cream trucks there.
Every
That's why I
year.
was quite shocked that we had
Every
this
year.
ban. And I do believe that in past, I've seen those vendors even in our own parade on Memorial Day selling items from their carts. They're not motorized, but they're selling items. So I think it would benefit us
Then let's have
to take a look at something that's
Let's have the discussion.
40-some years old.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it. If you want to look into that and get that on a study session item, I think it's better to have the dialogue there than here.
Certainly.
Great. Mr. McEldowney.
I'm open to having it come forward. I think it would be helpful, and we obviously got a little bit of the narrative tonight, but just to put together some background on the history of the discussion, the range of vendors that are impacted by the current ordinance, because it is an item that I kind of got a crash course on when I joined council. I know it's not come up since, and I think that would be very helpful so that we're sensitive to all the facets of the issue. We certainly have the new topic of food trucks, which have gained a certain new cache in terms of a new viable restaurant option. And so it's probably important that we look at the implications of that growing industry on in Commerce City, given our own ordinances. All that said, I would just ask what the urgency of this is, given the other things that we have on the plate for staff, particularly given the ballot items for November. How urgently do we want staff to look at this? And from a staff perspective, how much of the preparation I think they could have together for us to have a meaningful discussion without jeopardizing some of those other work streams.
Mr. Hayes? Time-wise, effect on staff, given everything else that's going on, what's it take to put the study session together?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. We're going to start getting into study session time for the 2014 budget. So let us take a look, and we can report back to you in the city manager report next Monday.
Right. Would you please stay in touch with Councilwoman Carson on where you're at with that?
Absolutely.
Mr. Douglas.
I just want to add to that. I mean, Jason just brought up the food trucks. Are food trucks allowed in Commerce City? No, I mean, I know about the ice cream, but as far as food trucks, are they allowed in Commerce City?
Mobile food vendors are permitted under fairly tight regulations. We can research those and provide those to council as well.
Okay, thank you. Because there's a event up north that they've been saying that they're going to have food trucks there, so I just want to make sure we're up on as far as permit process and everything. Thank you.
You know, that discussion has had some very wide range of topics. I know there was a vehicle selling Wendy's hamburgers out of the trunk of their car at the high school, that caused some concern with the school district. And it's one of those touchy issues that you want to make sure that there's an ice cream vendor that can serve the community, but you don't want it to be a negative impact on the community either. So there's that balance. And I think that the only way we get there is to have that discussion. So anyone else with any comments or concerns over Councilwoman Carson's request? Okay, we're going to move on. Mr. Bullock.
Yes, my main issue tonight is to bring forth before this council. First, I need to ask the city manager, how many items do we have on the study session next week?
I believe we have 3.
3 presentations?
3 presentations, not extensive. Is there an item you'd like to have us add?
As a part of Live Well Colorado and us being a health city, they're asking all health cities to pass a resolution for Live Well Colorado for being a health city. And I have 3 sample resolutions from different cities because Cortez, Oak Creek, Littleton and Brush have passed their resolution. Aurora and Thornton's are coming up. And what we were trying to do is, which my timing is really bad, is get them done before CML, because at CML we're going to do a Live Well walk on the first day from 3 to 3:45, and somebody that looks just like me is leading that walk, so you don't know where you end up at.
Would you
I
like-
would just like to put this on a study session if the council needed more information, because what I was going to do is see if I could get the sample of the resolutions and send them out to each council member, and they can see different resolutions from different cities, and we incorporate one with ours that incorporates community enterprise, because they're part of our Health Well Committee and Live Well Colorado. And I just was wondering if we needed it on a study session, or would council be amenable to just having a resolution brought forth and going forth with it? But it would be after we probably got back from, or right when we're leaving for CML.
Be the 17th. would
The
be next council
17th.
meeting.
If council is willing to allow us to just put together a sample resolution, a draft resolution for June 17th, I don't anticipate it would be a controversial item. Actually, I met with Aaron Mooney, the new executive director of Community Enterprise, Friday, and we were talking about the resolution as well.
Okay, thank you.
If council's amenable to that, we'll simply work on getting it on the agenda for June 17th instead of necessarily having to have a study session discussion about it next Monday.
It's fine with me. Anybody on council have any concerns? All right, move forward.
Okay, and my second item, coming up from July 18th to July 20th is a NARDO convention. It's a Housing Authority convention, and this year Denver is the host city for it, so there isn't any hotel cost that goes with it. And I was just wondering if council would be, I'm the council representative, and Mr. Amador is council alternate to the Housing Authority, if they would be okay with us. When are you going?
Weekend, July
Okay,
18th.
it would just be me then going to the conference. And I don't understand what it says, resident and guest 275, and I'm hoping that means that if you're a resident of that city, your registration's only 275 instead of 475, because I can't see why they would be charging a resident 475 to be here. But if we could explore that, if council is okay with me attending that conference.
Does anybody on the council want to make a motion to allow Mr. Bullock or not allow Mr. Bullock to attend the, what's it called? NARO conference for the Housing Authority?
I move to make a motion to have Councilman Bullock attend the NARO conference.
Okay, is there a second?
Second the motion.
Do we need to put a dollar in that?
I'm going to find out if housing pays for it, or if I would have to, if it comes out of legislative or my other budget, discretionary budget. But I think housing pays for it for the members that they send to it. I will definitely let everybody know at the study session next week how it is.
Okay, Mr. Manager, you have something to say on that?
It might be simplest if council has no objection that you authorize Mr. Bullock to attend in case discretionary funds are needed for his attendance.
Perfect. Is that amenable to the motion maker? That's you, Mr. Amador.
Yes, I'd make that motion if discretionary funds, to add to the motion, if discretionary funds are needed, to go ahead and approve that.
Is that acceptable to the second? Yes. Okay. I have a motion and a second to allow Mr. Bullock to attend the conference and utilize discretionary funds if necessary. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Mr. Douglas.
Yes, it's a couple of things. On the corner of Chambers and 104th, going westbound and turning right, going north on Chambers, that little corner there. I know they put that, it's a turn lane there, but it's kind of tight. Is there any way we can expand on that to make it a much safer turn? Because it's a pretty sharp turn there when you have to come off of 104th onto Chambers.
We can check into that.
Okay. And the other thing is, as residents contact me about some property inside of Eagle Creek, which would be the second entrance all the way to the back, northeast, those empty lots. I just want to know if there's going to be any activity within the next year or so as far as any developer coming in and building on those empty lots.
We'd be happy to research that and get an update in a future city manager report.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've had several calls for service from residents. I've passed most of those along to administrative staff, and they're following up with the residents and making sure that those things are taken care of. Things from dead trees along Quebec, stuff like that. I did receive a call today from one resident that they never left me their name or anything. They just said, if you want to do something unique that nobody else has done with the dog track property, plant 10,000 trees and build a forest. I found that interesting, just a short, sweet message, and I thought, someone's out there, thinking. Wheels are turning anyway. But it's important that we try to get the money that we've invested back into the coffers for the residents and provide services with that property. So I'm still on the track of, as much as I like forests, I'm still on the track of trying to create some service-oriented commercial development opportunities and/or educational opportunities that would benefit our community. So I do have one other. I had another call from a resident today that is concerned because there are still barricades and signage up for the Memorial Day Parade, and want to make sure that our staff is on top of that, making sure that those things are picked up in a timely manner so that they don't impede people's lifestyles within those neighborhoods. And I do have one complaint that I have been noticing. On Peoria Street at 120th, where the new 7-Eleven's going in. I think it's great we're getting the 7-Eleven in. I'll have to tell you right now, anybody that knows me has seen me driving around town. I drive a dually pickup, and I will tell you, those cones with the drop-off that is a foot off the edge, they cut that pavement and removed it and left that the entire weekend and had people shoved up against the gentleman's fence. The entire northbound lane was in the ditch along the gentleman's fence, and what little bit of pavement was left was so narrow that I couldn't drive my truck through it. I mean, it was that tight. And, my son commented, he said, "Dad, don't go that way. There's a big drop-off. You're not going to get through there." And I said, "Oh, you know what? They surely didn't cut that out with the intent of not replacing it. I'm sure they're going to work on it tomorrow and start that paving." The whole weekend went by. That's a lot of traffic that goes through there. It was improperly signed and no flaggers when they were cutting it out. I made a call to Public Works to have the inspector go over and ask them to get proper signage up. They had southbound, you couldn't go southbound at all, and northbound was, like I said, in the ditch. I just think that is a very unsafe construction area, and today it's still unsafe, being that there's that large drop-off, and they've got barrels in the part that's dropped off because there's not even room on the pavement to have the protection. And I just worry that one of our residents are going to damage a vehicle or get hurt because of how narrow that is, and would employ the staff to push that contractor to get some pavement in that hole before someone does get hurt. I'm sure, Councilwoman Carson, you've seen that, the situation there?
I did. In fact, when I came down it, you could see that it was so narrow that some of the barricades had been bumped and moved. And it must have been your phone call that brought them to bring the sign that said road closed.
It was.
Because my husband, who is an experienced driver of fire trucks and trucks, committed himself pulling a boat down that, and it doesn't fit. And I think it was Friday that they took it out. So they took it out Friday with the intentions of letting it set the entire weekend. And that's how primarily everybody out of our development goes in and out. And you have all that high school traffic. The church is there on the weekends. I received a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, exactly. And since we live over there, I can tell you that regardless of where this kind of construction would be in the city. I will tell you it's unsafe, and there's absolutely no way a fire truck could make it in between those barricades. So I would really like some staff to take a look at that first thing and get that taken care of. And another call, I already took care of that one. So I think that covers my administrative business. Is there any more administrative business from the council or staff? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports. And we'll start with the city attorney.
Just to inform the council that June 21 is an important date in our family because that's the date my wife is having surgery to remove this so-called mass in her abdomen, and it's looking like it's not a malignancy. So that's the good news. Of course, anytime you have surgery, removing a mass is not a simple surgery, but that's our situation, and we'll be looking forward to having that successfully completed. Other than that, I don't have any city business to report this evening, except we do have the coordinating committee meeting this week that has been talked about earlier in the evening, and looking forward to an interesting meeting that night.
Great.
That day. It's during the day.
Yep. And Bob, to you and your family, I hope everything goes well, and our prayers are with your wife's surgery.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did distribute this week's edition of the City Manager's Report just prior to tonight's meeting. Highlights, the first neighborhood outreach of the year will be next Thursday, a week from this Thursday, June 13th, at River Run Park. In terms of updates, we had 4 updates for you tonight. The first, Councilman Douglas had asked us to check into closed loop systems for oil wells along 96th Avenue. So we provided some background in the report related to that item. Additionally, Mr. Douglas had asked about the benefits that we provide to part-time employees. We provided a brief update there. We are still looking at the impacts of the Healthcare Reform Act on part-time employees, so that work is ongoing, and we'll have an update for council certainly in time for budget discussions for the 2014 budget. Third, we did reach out to Mr. Cerna, who had made some comments at the last regular meeting. We believe we've resolved his concern about his neighborhood. And then, again, regarding the neighborhood outreach, we are preparing a table for City Council, as we did for the 2 neighborhood outreaches last year, including a briefing memo for you. The 2 topics, general information about the city that we expect council might want to distribute to folks, and also an update on the QCI effort. So we're, on your behalf, putting that information together, and we'll send it out in time for the outreach on June 13th. And
Great,
as always,
thanks.
please call if you have any questions.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman Carson, your light's lit. You have something?
I was just going to say that I did attend the Adams County public meeting for the redistricting of the 5 boundaries for the new wards. And I wanted to encourage all of our citizens to take a look at that, because citizens voted to approve 5 commissioners. And if you look at map 1, my opinion is that if that is the map that is accepted, your county commissioners would probably all come from the I-25 area. And I don't think that was the intention when citizens said they wanted 5 representatives. I think they wanted a very diverse look. So I did speak there. I did not speak on behalf of Commerce City. I spoke as a resident who was concerned that I wanted equal representation throughout. So if that's your feeling, please contact your commissioners and explain that you don't like map 1. 2 or 3, I think, would service us much better. But yeah, reach out to that, because I really don't think once that is put in place and all of those representatives come from the I-25 area, and that's where the population is, so you can almost guarantee that's where the votes would come from. So thank you.
I'm glad you brought that up. I know several cities, Brighton and Thornton, have taken formal positions and sent those positions forward. to the county, and I would leave it open to this council if you, as a council, would like to pursue one of those maps and do a resolution or whatever's necessary to send a formal preference forward to the commissioners. Just looking at the maps, I know map 2 leads to the opportunity for a couple of those commissioners to come out of Commerce City, one from the south and one from the north, which looks most beneficial for our community from the standpoint that we would have better representation. And that's just my opinion on because it does give us more representation. Otherwise, based on the lines, the lines really don't matter much to me as long as we have good representation at the county. And that is one map that does lead to, and that is the map that Brighton supported was map 2. So if the council has a desire or intent to put forward a letter of support or a resolution to the county, I'm open to that, and you guys may want to bring that up at the study session next week. Okay? Thanks. Okay. Anyone else? Then I'll get into my reports, or our reports. First off, I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Bullock for handling last week's council meeting as I was out of town taking care of some city business with Mr. Bullock, or with Mr. Benson in Las Vegas at the International Conference of Shopping Centers. That was a great trip. I think we have a ton of prospects for all over the board commercial opportunities for Commerce City. I know the residents and this council will get a full update of all the contacts that we made. I know we were at approximately 45 different meetings throughout those couple of days. It was extremely busy, but I will tell you the difference between this year and last year, that these businesses and these companies are in more of a mode to start creating and expanding and building new opportunities. So the outlook this year was very good. And as far as having Councilman Benson go along, the way it worked out, and I think it worked out very well, is that myself and some of the other economic development members would make all these scheduled meetings with potential users for our community. And Mr. Benson and another economic development employee would go and do a lot of walk-ups and encourage new prospects to get them in the loop. So the team system worked pretty good. We were split up, and I know they did they did tie down some new potential prospects for the community by doing the walk-ups. So I think it was advantageous in the way that we did it. I think that we need to refine that process a little bit and have, a big concern of mine is that we're given the same message and that we have the same information so that when these walk-ups are taking place, that we're distributing the same information. Some of the disconnect on having this be the first time in a while that two people have went was, if we had regular scheduled meeting and the one group would do a walk-up with the group that we were meeting with, and in 2 hours from that time, made it kind of messed it up a little bit. But I think after talking with we always have dinner and sit down and discuss everything that took place while it's fresh on our minds while we're there, and I really think that making sure that the folks that are doing the walk-ups have the same agenda that we have, so that we're not hitting the same spot twice, and that we're having our meetings that are scheduled meetings, and the walk-ups are actually being productive. But I was impressed with the fact that we did get in front of a lot more people having the walk-up component to our efforts out there. So the ICSC went great. I have to tell you, I want to thank the economic development team, Julie and Michelle, and Walt Williams, and of course Jim Hayes, for the efforts they put into this year's conference, the folks that we were able to actually get in front of, and the commercial opportunities, not just opportunities, those deals that we solidified while we were there, that I know these pad sites that are actually going to come out of the ground in the next 6-8 months because of some of these efforts. I know there are sit-down restaurants in the near future for Commerce City, and I believe that out of the 8 pad sites at the new King Soopers, I think that I feel very strongly that they're all filled. So we're going to be in a construction phase here over the next 12 to 18 months, and we're going to have some new commercial opportunities for our residents, and most of that is thanks to the economic development team. And Jim, will you sure pass that on, please? Thank you. Next, when I did get back into town, I had a meeting with Jim Marshall, who owns Turnberry. I golfed in a tournament for Stout Street Foundation with Brian, Rick, and Steve. I had a meeting and several phone calls with Governor Hickenlooper, and then a lunch meeting with myself, Mayor Hogan from Aurora, and Commissioner Tedesco. We all met with the governor for lunch over his concerns that we continue to try to work out all of our differences with the airport issues. And the three of us are on the consultation committee for the coordinating committee. Then we had the Memorial Day Parade. And I have to tell you, it was a great parade, warm, no rain, which was good, but very well attended. And I have to say thank you to this council. All 9 members of this council were in attendance, which I noticed, because that doesn't happen all that often, even for the event like the parade. I have to thank Crystal and Steve and their efforts that they put in on the committee, the parade committee. I think everything went great. The employees in the streets and parks department, whoever, all of those folks that worked on the float scenario, I know it makes it more cost efficient for the city to have the one float going through instead of us having all of those golf carts and driving around. But it was a great parade. Seemed like a lot of happy residents, and I can't thank those folks that work on the backside enough to make sure the logistics are taken care of, and that everything's lined up right, and that they do a great job. I know they've been doing it a lot of years, and this is the first time that it was ran by a new director, per se. It was Mike Brown, correct? Mm-hmm. Because John, this was his first year not doing it, I think.
Actually, John Howard and Leanne Noel were kind of co-directors of the parade for years, and this is the first year that John Howard got to do something else on Memorial Day. But I agree, Mike jumped in and did a terrific job.
You know, it was great, and I didn't get to see it, but I heard a lot of people were really impressed with the parachuters when they dropped down, the way they were able to hit Parkway Drive at the right spot. I don't know if any of the council got to see it.
We saw it from over on 64th and Holly. That's where we were when we saw them coming down.
And I didn't notice it. I didn't get to see it. But those folks that were there at the grandstands just said it was amazing that those guys were able to drop out of the sky and come around and hit that particular spot. Next year being the 50th anniversary of the parade. Thank you. I know it would be great to have the flyover and more parachuters, and you know, that's a big step for Commerce City, 50 years with that parade. And I know we tried to get the flyover this year, but it was all part of the sequester, and you know, utilizing those folks was out of line. So hopefully they get that all worked out, and we can improve upon some of those things to really set off the 50th year. But kudos to all those employees that went above and beyond to make sure that that was all taken care of. Mr. Teeter, you want to handle this one, or you want me to? Oh, you passed it to me. D-Day Remembered. This year, the 10th annual tribute to our military veterans will be held by the Adams County Historical Society at the fairgrounds on June 9th at 2:00 p.m. The museum can be reached by driving north on Highway 85, turning west on 124th for 1 mile. Mary Kelly, popular vocalist and arranger, will join the Father's Mustache Band with emphasis on songs of the World War II. Displays at Hoffman Hall, Fire Station, and Victorian House will be open. Refreshments will be served, and veterans and their families are encouraged to attend this free indoor event. Wear your uniform or bring a vintage car. Let's honor this greatest generation. So that's for everybody out there. Can go to the D-Day Remembered program that's coming up this next Sunday. On to my reports. Want to mention I went to the Aurora State of the City this last Wednesday. Normally I would have been at Rotary. However, it was a Rotary event in Aurora, so I was able to meet my obligation for Rotary and attend the State of the City for Mayor Hogan in Aurora, who we're working closely with right now on all the airport issues and some jail issues and some other things that are going on with Adams County. So he did a great job, and I told him what I thought of his program, and I was happy to be there. There was one other mayor in attendance, Mayor of Greenwood Village.
Doug Tisdale.
No, not Greenwood Village.
Oh, yeah.
Ron
Rakowski, yeah.
That's Greenwood Village, correct? That's right. Ron Rakowski.
Cherry Hills is down.
With that said, I know I'm missing something. I do need to let everybody know that Renee Bullock will be the mayor from the 10th Sunday, 9 a.m., or I'm sorry, Monday the 10th at 9 a.m. until Sunday afternoon on Father's Day, as I will be out of the country.
Statues.
No statues. No statues. Only a study session. We're not going to let you change any laws. And if there be nothing further to come before this council this evening, we are adjourned.